And we're live.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are locked in on To The Point with
Skip.
and the King. You guys know where to find us by now. I got to make a quick shout out. Skip, great friend of ours, great friend of the show, Mr. Andrew Reese from the Reese Report. We extend our condolences and we send you nothing but thoughts and prayers. We hope your family's okay. Yeah, it sucks, man.
Yeah, we were going to have Reese on the show this week, but sometimes life gets in the way, and there are things bigger than basketball, bigger than podcasting. So,
yeah. So Skip, I gotta ask. I gotta say this, man. I'm proud of you. That first round of your playoff bracket, you could pull that up. You nailed it, dude.
Perfect. 8 for 8.
Right? You killed it. But now, I gotta ask you, after this second round, wow, did anybody other than Trae Young think the Atlanta Hawks would be in the conference finals?
No, So first of all, yeah, so I screwed up the Eastern Conference. The whole Eastern Conference is out the window. First of all, I got to say, if you go back to about 2 or 3 games into the second round, my picks were all looking beautiful. I was worried about the Clippers. The Clippers were down 2-0, and I'm sitting here. I'm gonna have three teams in the conference finals, and the Clippers are gonna miss out. And then the Clippers come back in their series, and both of my Eastern Conference teams flail out. And to be honest, there's one reason and one reason only that those things happened, that things went down that way, I should say, and that is injuries. If you look at the Eastern Conference in particular, the 2 teams that made it through, Atlanta and Milwaukee, those are the 2 teams that were the healthiest of all 8 teams. That's really all it comes down to. There's obviously a little more to it, but I think specifically if you want to go to the Milwaukee-Brooklyn series, that's fully just Brooklyn was the favorite. They were the better team. And then Kyrie goes down. Harden can only walk up the court. So they're losing they're missing 1.5 superstars. And Milwaukee doesn't even have a serious injury as far as I know on the entire squad. And Milwaukee wins in game 7 in overtime by the width of Kevin Durant's foot, by the 2 inches on the end of his toe. So I'm going to stand by my Brooklyn pick in that series. I think when I made that pick, that was a good pick. I think you cannot predict that 2 guys are going to get hurt and just that the series is not going to go their way. Now, if we switch over to Philly, Atlanta, that's a bit of a different story. Obviously, Embiid playing through his knee issues. But Embiid, quite frankly, played pretty well. I don't think you can lay too much at his feet. Maybe he was a little slower on defense. He had a couple of rough second halves, but he showed up in this series. And the fact is that the Sixers couldn't get it done. And this is now at least the 3rd year that the Sixers haven't gotten it done. You kind of have to step back and take a look at these 2 teams, at Philly and Atlanta, and say, what is going on here? Because I look at Philly and I kind of see a team that's topped out. I see a team that has capped themselves out on players in Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris who are good enough to win games in the regular season, but they just disappear in the playoffs. And it's kind of that syndrome of what happened to the Raptors around, 2017, 2018, where you're like, okay, this is a good team. This is a number 1 seed, number 2 seed, that they take care of business in the regular season. They have lots of good players, but where's that next step coming from? And you look up and down the Sixers roster, and they haven't had a lot of flexibility. They went all in too early. Like, let's be honest, with that Jimmy Butler trade, it might not have been the right time for their franchise to go in on Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris. They've got some young players coming up in what's his name? Maxey and yeah. So they have some good young players coming up, but like those I don't see either of those guys turning into like superstars. So you got to look at this team and you got to say they need to shake things up. Like this is this is now officially a problem in Philly. Now, if you switch over to Atlanta, I mean, Atlanta played well. Like, don't get me wrong, they have Trae. He's a great young star in this league, but Trae shot like 2 for 17 or 2 for, I don't know what it was. He missed a boatload of shots in that game 7, at least early on. And the end of the day, like, Atlanta, you look at them and they're a high floor team. What they did this year is they brought in lots of veterans, lots of guys who can come in, be a good 4th or 5th guy on the floor, shoot them threes, like Danilo Gallinari, Lou Will. Like, that's what these guys do. They come in, they make your team a little bit
get
better.
the job done.
They get the job done, but they're not superstars. They're not mega stars. Even guys like John Collins, Kevin Huerter, like, yeah, these are useful role players, but like, I don't look at this team and see a team that screams finals to me. And as much as these moves were exciting last year when they made them, like especially when they went out and got Bogdanovic and Gallinari, lots of people were saying this is going to be a playoff team. This team's going to be pretty decent. But they weren't saying this team's going to make the freaking finals. Like, come on. So I think Philly should have won that series, and the fact that they didn't win that series is really damning on Philly. I don't know. What do you think?
Man, that's okay. Let's start. Skip, you just went into a lot of stuff. So let's start with the Philly-Atlanta series there, right? Atlanta's got a good core. They have a very decent team. I'm very surprised.
Team. Yeah.
Philly, now, I just got to bring this up for you guys out there, just to let you know. You know, Ben Simmons is perfect in the fourth quarter.
3 for 3 in 7 games.
3 for 3. He went nowhere with it, right? And there was a lot of talk. We'll talk about this another time, Skip, about Ben Simmons getting traded. But there was actually, can I give you a fun fact? Shout out to my man Al, coach, right out there. He brought this to me. And there was actually a proposed trade for Kawhi Leonard for Ben Simmons. If that went through, your Toronto Raptors probably wouldn't have won that chip.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been a good trade for the Spurs, and I'm not surprised Philly turned it down. But
that would have been great.
Changed. I mean, things have changed, and I think that Ben Simmons trade is happening, and it's really
woulda, coulda, shoulda. Let's see what happens going forward, right?
But this year, I think they got to trade him, and there's talk about McCollum on Portland. There's talk about maybe even Lonzo Ball. Lots of
a few whispers about
Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
I've heard a couple whispers on Twitter about if the Raptors could pull a sign and trade for Lowry for Simmons, but I'm not holding my breath for that one to happen. But that would be a really interesting trade for both teams.
Send him home. We already discussed about him going back home. Now, the other side of the Eastern Conference, man. Okay, so we covered about, again, our man Andrew Reese. We covered about the MVPs. Okay, now there are no finalists for the MVPs playing in the playoffs right now.
This is true.
But I did say that Giannis is my personal favorite for the MVP, and I think he's proven it. Okay.
What a role reversal, right? What a role reversal.
Right?
Because it was always Giannis is the regular season MVP. He can't win in the playoffs, and now it's the opposite.
The first round, he had 23, 15, and almost 8 for the first round. The second round, he just said, forget that. I'm taking control. He went off 31.9 to be exact, points per game. He went almost 13 rebounds a game, but only 3.6 assists because he decided to say, I'm taking control of this. And I got to salute him.
Yeah.
I got to salute him on that one. He busted me because honestly, like Skip, we're in the same boat. I thought Brooklyn, that was my pick.
Well, KD was the best player in that series, though. It was just that he had no supporting cast. Like he was
go
missing
ahead
these
and
guys.
show it. I go ahead and show it. I'm gonna eat crow because I picked Brooklyn to win it overall. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. But going over to the Western Conference, Skip, we did nail it.
We nailed it. We both called Clippers Suns on our brackets, so we're doing all right.
Yeah, and so now we're gonna ask you is due to Chris Paul being out due to COVID safety and protocols, because I think that's a load of crap because I'm pretty sure LeBron made a call and said he was in the club. And then the Clippers now losing Kawhi. How do you think that will turn out in the Western Conference?
Well, that's the big thing, right? Because my pick was for the Clippers to win it all. And I still think they have a great shot if Kawhi can come back. But I think that Kawhi injury, it sounds like it's pretty serious. It sounds like it's really going to be touch and go whether he comes back during the playoffs at all. They're just
there was no load management in LA.
Yeah, I mean, they're just kind of nursing it and sort of saying he might come back, like he's not going to get surgery yet, but it's something that's going to need surgery. It's pretty serious. It's possibly something he's not going to be able to play through at all. Whereas Chris Paul, it sounds like it's just about clearing the COVID from his system. Like he should be back at some point. It just is whether
if they go to a game 7.
No, yeah. I think it'd be sooner. I think it'd be like game 3, game 4, maybe game 5. Like he'll be back in this series. I fully believe that. Kawhi, I'm not so sure about. And as well as the Clippers have played, I mean, they're down 1-0 in this series, but what else is new? They're down 1-0 in every series.
Maybe 2-0.
Yeah, they might be down 2-0 after tonight. We'll see. As well as they've played, as well as they've rallied, the way I'm conflicted because the way the Suns have looked in the first 2 rounds, they look like world beaters. Like they look like the kind of team that can just romp to the finals and win in like without even going to a game 6 or game 7. Like they've dominated these series. They've won by huge margins. They've never really been threatened. So the Suns are scary. But at the same time, they're so young. Like this is the first time most of these guys have ever been in the playoffs, except for Chris Paul. And I have a hard time believing that a team can just cut through it without running into a roadblock at some point. And I see the Clippers as a pretty huge roadblock. But again, then we get to, well, Kawhi's out. And how much of a roadblock are the Clippers if Kawhi's out? So I'm really conflicted on this series. I think if Kawhi comes back, the Clippers definitely pull this out. I think without Kawhi, this could be a really interesting series, and the Suns could prove us all wrong. I don't know. What do you think?
Wow. Okay. Shout out to my man Andrew Reese on 2 points over there because he said, remember when he was on our show and he said playoff Z instead of playoff?
Yeah.
Well, he kind of proved that. I'm gonna get at you for that, buddy. I'm gonna give you a call later. And we'll talk about that.
It turns out that when Paul George is healthy, he's pretty good.
That's 1 point. The second part of that is when he messaged me about a certain reporter, commentator out there south of the border, said that Devin Booker is the next Kobe Bryant, which we will get into. But the kid did learn from Kobe, and he is showing it up, and I'm very proud of him. Like, I'm still sticking with you on this one, Skip, and my pick about the Clips making it to the finals. But that Kawhi Leonard issue was just like a shot out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I think our whole bracket from here on out is a little iffy. You guys let us know what you think about your brackets and how it might roll out. Oh, Skip. I can't believe it. I'm going to be wrong for the first year in about the last 15 years about the finals.
Yeah, you've been pretty good. I guess actually we should go back to the East real quick and make our picks because we don't have Eastern Conference finalists yet. So,
I'm taking Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'm taking Milwaukee too. So I got to be honest, like basically felt like that Milwaukee-Brooklyn series was the Eastern Conference Finals. No matter who won that series and who won Philly-Atlanta, I totally thought the winner of that series was going to go through. That hasn't changed, especially with Atlanta winning that series. I don't think Atlanta can beat Milwaukee. I think they're too young. I think they're too inexperienced. I think they don't have quite enough star power beside Trey. I take Milwaukee in that series.
This past season, the Bucks are 2-1 against Atlanta for the regular season.
Yeah. So
right.
I think.
So who do you think? Who do you see coming out of the Western Conference?
Well, I mean, we said we're sticking Clips, but like, man, I'm worried.
The Clips were 2-1 against the Suns. So,
like I said, I think the healthy Clips can take the Suns. I'm just worried if Kawhi doesn't play a game in this series. I'm a little worried.
Okay. So more importantly, what we got to say, guys, is what you guys got to say. So you guys let us know. You guys put it out there. Tell us what you think. We are always open for debate. We have nothing but love for you guys. We love engaging with you guys. Thank you for checking us out on To The Point Instagram, To The Point Facebook, To The Point Raps on Twitter, youtube.com/To The Point Podcast. We have nothing but love for you guys. Make sure, especially on the YouTube, go click subscribe, click like, let us know what you think right there. If you want to come on our show and say anything that you want to say, bring it on. We have no problem with that. Shout out to all our guys, especially Mr. Andrew Reese, the Reese Report. We said nothing but love to your family. Skip, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I think we pretty much covered it. Just see how these playoffs play out, and we'll be back next week.
I'll see you next round, buddy. All right. On behalf of myself and Skip, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and
peace.